Maru ending that streak, but also just checking back a little bit further, Cure does not have a good record, particularly against Maru when it comes to best of 5+. So best of 3 is where he often picks up the victory. So this actually might be favorable to him as we head in to Ghost River. In the top right, as the Red Terran for Team Vitality, he is Maru.
That was not quite Maru, but spawning over in... Oh, no, you were correct. But,
right. Wait.
The camera was on Cure, but spawning over in the top left-hand side is one of my Team Liquid boys. It is Cure.
Like, the logos are really different colors. How did I mess that one up?
No. You were absolutely right, but also that was Maru, you know? So, I mean, when I was watching them walk out on stage, I'm like, there might be no meek and milder looking two to just stand there, and they're meant to look each other in the eyes. They're looking everywhere else, just being like, oh dear, I hope he doesn't go too rough on me here. But Ghost River to start things off here. Like, this is kind of a crazy TVT map, honestly. Like, you get the Sight Deltas of the world, the Oceanborns, you're going to have a very nice layout to work with. But Ghost River, this just calls for aggression. And there was one series that I remember, Clem going up against Cure. It was some big deal, and it was when Cure had already joined Team Liquid and had been part of it for a while. Cure chose to deal with Clem in the early game, which I was so surprised about, because I'm like, Cure, you're a strategic genius in this matchup. It's all about positioning, whereas Clem's about speed, but he actually did bring it to Clem. And I mean, I know that TVT, the Koreans have always been the best at it, but Cure isn't a one-trick pony in this matchup. In fact, I think he's a guy that brings a lot of builds to the table and really utilizes his mind as opposed to his speed.
Yeah, actually. And we talked a little bit about his speed being a little lacking compared to, like a Clem in TVZ. But when you watch him play in this matchup, yes, strategically he is fantastic, but his micro is often on point. He can bring the aggression early on. They did play Ghost River the last time they faced off against each other, and it was a win by Cure because Cure ended up 2-0ing him in GSL. So maybe Cure also happy with this result of the map pick and bans. We do have both players not going super aggressive on this map. No proxies coming down, but factory expand from Cure, you think would make a little more sense. Maru with a much faster command center despite the length of this map.
Yeah, Maru's definitely gone for the more economic approach. One of these players did SCV Scout. I do believe it was Maru. So he knows what he's up against. Yeah, to get to Scout that it was a double gas opening with the fast factory, which does signal that Cure will be the one trying to be a little bit more aggressive. Now, you don't need to necessarily get damage done because you have advantages in other places, such as a much faster starport, faster Ravens on the go and all that. So Maru definitely feeling like build-wise, he got away with something a little bit here.
He did build the bunker.
He did build the bunker, just to be safe about what can happen in that front door. Now, these units are very nicely placed by Maru. Does get a Reaper for his troubles. That is not the start that Cure's looking for.
No. So just to elaborate on that bunker, sometimes you will see the One Rax Expand players still try to avoid building that bunker. They think they can actually track the units enough, and then they can get the factory unit out as fast as they can as well. But that's maybe a little more questionable on the shorter rush distance. It's also something where if you're going to grab a Cyclone instead of a Hellion, I mean, the Hellion pops out a little bit sooner, right? So you don't need a Tech Lab anymore for the Cyclone, but still. It is going to be double Cyclone for Maru into the Viking. Very defensive setup. Obviously can't get aggressive on the other side of the map. Cure not going to go into any medevacs himself. This is something that Maru actually gets in and sees. He might also grab an SCV. Yeah, I think it'll happen if he sacrifices the Reaper. Well, actually did not end up getting the focus fire. So the SCV is clumped up too much.
Did Maru... So I just want to talk about what he's producing, because Maru initially started producing a medevac, then cancelled it, started making a Viking, then cancelled it again, and is now going ahead with the medevac. So kind of interesting what he's been doing, whether it was like, okay, if he doesn't come at this time with this, then I can go ahead with the medevac. If that doesn't happen, then I'll go with the Viking. So a lot of changing and flipperooing from Maru, but now he has a medevac. His opponent doesn't, but Cure is looking like he's very comfortable with just sitting in his position. Now, he was quicker to the Ravens and obviously quicker to the tanks as well, but we'll see what Maru can get done, because remember, does have a little bit of an SCV lead so far, but that first tank shot was beautiful.
Yeah, already having a tank in position. Maru was hoping that it'd be basically anywhere else, or at the very least not Siege. So the Cyclone aggression stopped before it can really even begin. I guess he did actually get 2 SCVs, so that, yeah, but the tank is going to make sure that those Cyclones are going to, you know, hopefully not find any more damage. In fact, they would sacrifice themselves to get 2 shots, so this one in the main base could grab it. Well, Cure moves perhaps at the exact wrong time. Maru going to be able to find a supply depot because of this, and you know, it is the case that he will have the fun with the medevac, basically. There's nothing that actually directly kills it. Marines are not going to be able to chase this down. There's no Cyclones, and there's no Viking. Well, not yet, sorry.
Yeah, this was a huge scout for Maru, though. Like, no third here, no third on location. Now, there isn't a proxy starport, but remember, this map is very short. Like, yeah. I'm a little bit scared for Maru if Cure does push out, just because he's got a third CC. He's getting the extra barracks now. He's been kind of slow to get the Vikings going. And how many Ravens does he have? I feel like he skipped those almost entirely in this map. Oh, no, he hasn't at all. He's got 2 out. So Maru just doing Maru things here. But the tank count definitely in Cure's favor.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting right to it on the production, on specifically the tanks, can sometimes leave you a little under-defended as far as the, you know, the Cyclone is that great overall defensive unit, but the tank is really the better unit as TVT goes on. So Maru going to try and at least keep some units on the map. Maybe he gets a Viking that was not controlled correctly. That is not the case, but tracking the army, getting into position, also important things here. Cure certainly going to be able to delay a third CC for a long period of time, but is he going to go for the throat in the natural?
This is so rough. Like, Maru's got so much investment that's not going to be paying off for quite some time. The stim, the +1/+1. Like, you really can't do much with these Marines unless you catch your opponent unsieged. And Maru will have more Marines out, but this kind of siege positioning, very scary. And Maru, he's just doing what he does. He feels the opportunity to get across the map and deal some damage. These Cyclones still very good against the air units as well. He's doing about as good with this defense as you possibly can. Yeah,
we did see him yesterday versus Oliveira. You know, basically hindsight make a mistake with the Ravens, but it was also a 2 starport play from Oliveira, right?
Stim on that barracks.
Yeah, that could be in question. Yeah.
Unless he gives up the vision, and even for a little period of time here, that's actually a really big deal.
Yeah, if the barracks dies, guys, Stim dies as well. The SCVs are repairing that up. You can't lift it either. Stim will also get canceled, so yeah, that was a little sketchy, but that is going to finish. So Maru is going to have much faster upgrades. His third CC has been done, but he, the 19 SCVs went down. Good lord.
To 2 Ravens?
Yeah, that's insane, actually. I just didn't even imagine that would ever happen. 19 SCVs just went down. Cure went from a position in which he could kind of grab a couple of things, being an annoyance, to now actually really needing to do damage.
How on earth did he get that many kills? Like, I was expecting him to leave some units behind to deal with them, pulling the SCVs, but maybe he was just so focused on this front, and maybe that speed factor really coming into play here that we talked about. Now, these tanks are shelling out a lot of damage. Cure is up to 3 CC now, so we'll be able to start cranking out mules and mining on all 3 bases, but those Ravens, they were still dealing damage, and Maru somehow finds the time to just be like, you know what, I'm going to cross the map with these Vikings as well.
Yeah, and you know what, Cure's like, enough of this, I'm going to go for it. Interference Matrix on the tanks, Vikings land, Cure's tank siege up, Maru coming down his own ramp, trying to get the best concave possible to take this out, but it looks like it might be a little too low. The disables are running out, and that is going to save Maru's main base and natural, but Cure is still here. He will continue to rally. He just killed 21 SCVs, almost evening the SCV score. In fact, now he's out ahead, and he still has the contain going. Maru's break was not quite good enough.
Okay. Does Cure actually have stim? Because, I mean, he's been foregoing a lot of it. Okay, he's got stim, doesn't have combat shields, doesn't have the 1/1. That's a big deal. And Maru, with his last Raven there, did donk on the last Viking that was available for Cure. So Cure no longer has vision permanently, so he's having to use scans to actually shell on that command center. Is getting pretty damn low, but a lot of the little things here from Maru have bought him a lot of time. And now he's got air control, getting out of Liberator. He will be able to break out fairly soon.
Yeah, the Liberator is going to be it, guys. There's nothing you can do about that on Cure's side of the map. Now, the question is how Cure can be able to escape. You know, the next scan that comes down might be more for, well, actually, it's going to find a tank. Yeah, it is going to find a tank. Wow, that's and the Viking lands unsuccessfully to try and stop that from happening. I was going to say that, you know, the next scan might be to determine if he can actually successfully evacuate, but you know what, it's kind of confirming that he can actually do what he wants in this natural, but with medevacs, with stim and combat shields, bio drops from Maru are now an issue. Cure, totally unexpected, did not have any defense at the 3rd CC, so Maru kind of getting some jabs in while he's, you know, kind of petrified back at home. Only able to do so much. Oh my god, that actually just went down! Oh, Maru microing his dropship did not lift his command center.
No, he did not. Now, there is still a window here. I mean, there's so many little things going on. Cure actually picked off the low health Viking there. The SCVs are coming, the drops coming in from behind as well, all over these sea shanks, and Cure's trying to hold on here. He has so many Marines on top of this, and Maru's army just absolutely melted Cure with an absolute feisty Game 1 victory.
Absolutely. Good use of the map as well. You know, that could be really shaky for Cure's perspective. Keeping your tanks on that side of the map, things can happen, right? They can break out with the SCV pool. They can start maybe getting those medevacs, even a Viking land behind your tanks and break you. But what ended up happening was that he basically just kept the contain 100% of the time. There was no successful break that really pushed Cure all the way back, and then we can see more unsuccessful breaks as the game went on. Maru just not able to wrangle this game back and get the benefit of his opener.
There was a few huge mistakes out of Maru there that may not have seemed that big, but he had a tank on the high ground that Cure saw. He started shooting at it. Then he had 3 Vikings. One of them, he chose to run over and land. So it meant that his Viking died, right? Didn't get the tank kill either, so a tank and a Viking for nothing. Yeah. Then Cure focused down the low health Viking, meaning he outnumbered it. So once his Liberator was out, there was nothing. He couldn't actually utilize it. So that was just some little small errors from Maru there that led to a huge, overwhelming victory for Cure.
The other small thing right there in the previous fight, guys, sorry, it's already moved on, but there were a lot of Marines that were coming down for the break from Maru's main. They had been stacked up there because earlier there were threats of being killed by popping, right? Because the tanks were shelling away in the barracks. So we had a bunch of Marines that were coming down the ramp past his tank, and while they did get involved in the fight, you could certainly argue that he could have taken more time. If he was given time, guys, Cure pushed, so just to be clear, but if he had more time, he would have gotten a better concave in his natural, or he would have set up the drop behind the tanks to get a full surround. So Cure really choosing the right time to strike, Maru arguably opening up that time by continuing his extreme harassment, sending all of his Vikings across. He kind of poked the bear.
He certainly did poke the bear one too many times. And guys and girls, the colors have swapped for this match, and Cure, who will be Cure, spawning over the top left-hand side, the Team Liquid Terran. Cure.
Classic Demu triple player intro. Love it.
It was almost like America, America, America on the first day, you know? Seems a lifetime ago at this point.
And in the bottom right, now on his last life, it is Team Vitality's Maru.
Maru has nads the size of China, I swear. Like, his life is so damn on the line here, and I just see he's not making SVs at 14 supply, and there he is, proxying. Oof. My goodness, Zombie Grub.
My goodness indeed, Demu. Thank you for that. Proxy 2 racks. When push comes to shove, when everything is on the line, go back to your strengths. Go back to what everyone thought you were proving was broken. I've never seen this strategy lose. Of course, that's on TVZ, but seriously. A Proxy 2 racks in TVT on Site Delta, where Cure is, in fact, going for a 1 racks expand. Is he SCV scouting? I do not see it. This is exactly what Maru would want.
This is the perfect storm, isn't it? Like, he's scouting around the natural a little bit, and it's like, oh, there's no proxy behind the natural. You're not going to be that brazen, are you? Goes to the low ground, expand. And the thing is, this is barracks first as well. It's not gas first. It means the factory will be up much later now. Very often, you can go for a bunker fairly on with this build, but more often than not, you don't, especially with the ramp being this kind of veil of security, but it's not really. And we'll see what Maru does. He's sending the first SCV back home. And in fact, is that both SCVs have gone back home? So
Yes.
it's going to be a macro follow-up behind this, but make no mistake, Cure has to be so on point from this point on.
Yeah. This is the worst situation, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's an automatic win. You know, it's definitely a soft counter, shall we call it. But things are going to get more complicated for Cure. He does have to worry about straight up dying. That grenade popped them forward into the Marine, into the Reaper. Even Maru can't help but kind of just smile at that one. And yet Cure will, despite that awesome opener, still have to cancel his command center. Maru will absolutely 100% not get that snowball.
I am so happy about that sad lip, by the way. I've never seen so much emotion out of Maru. Just one little sad lip there. But my goodness, I tell you what, cancelling the CC, that's actually, I don't think Cure needed that after killing one of the Reapers. So that's actually something that's gone in Maru's favor. But everything else, that Reaper grenade was insane. Like the fact that he kept on running past it, like I see a ramp with Reapers and I'm kind of like, oh, I don't know what's up there, you know. But Maru just went in and bit the bullet for it. Really nice hold by Cure. Yeah,
and I wonder how much that is, you know, Cure also anticipating a move like that. I mean, it's kind of something you do no matter what, but it just, you know, half a pixel space or whatever it is in StarCraft, and maybe those Reapers don't get popped. But yeah, that did stop, again, like I'm saying, like the snowball, that thing that could actually kill Cure and just make this an easy game. We see that in Pro TBT, but no, this is just more of a complicated game.
There's so many things for Maru that are just so un-Maru-esque here. Like 2 Reapers down, we should have 5. And this is just giving Cure so much confidence. And remember, this is now the best of 3 stage. Maru went through such a marathon over the past couple of days in those upper brackets, the lower bracket as well. And now 1-0 down, and he's gone for an opening that has absolutely not paid off.
No, it hasn't. It has not. Now, he's going into triple command center behind this, and if we can successfully get that up on the 3rd CC, well, then that will help out for sure. But that would be kind of the next question. Right now, Maru grabbing some Cyclones and a Medevac can provide some aggression, kind of keep that map control. He does still have some Reapers that can go for a backstab too. But Cure is also getting some aggression. He's also getting out in the map. That Medevac flying across, coming in obviously much faster. I am kind of worried that Maru might see, he sees it, he knows about it, he might keep the Cyclones at home, maybe bait Cure into dropping and then pounce on him with the Cyclones, or he might just say, like, you know, show the Cyclones, say, no, you're never getting in here, go away.
Maru's timing on getting these 2 Cyclones out, by the way, is like super clean. Like he's going more Cyclones as well, which I don't hate in this situation, just making sure that you will regain the map control that you lost from earlier. We all know that Cyclones are pretty good. They're not quite what they once were in this matchup, but definitely not bad, especially in the hands of somebody like Maru. Now, we might get a bit of a Medevac chase going on over here, Zombie Grub, and Medevacs are pretty damn fast, but this one's taking a bit of a tour around Site Delta over here, so maybe not looking to chase down the Medevac, maybe looking to deal damage of his own.
Yeah, well, he also kind of needs a scout, too. Both of them a little in the dark. I mean, there's some natural progression from the stage they were in, but getting that confirmation, you know, I'm personally curious. We saw mech from Maru yesterday. You know, could he do it again? I believe he did it on Site Delta. It is possible, paying attention to the 4th gas timing in particular, but Medevac drop from Maru, sees a couple of Cyclones, says, no, it's not worth it. Obviously, we have a Barracks on the way for Cure, so definitely bio from him. Barracks on the way for Maru as well, and we will be having bio versus bio, Ravens versus Ravens. And now the situation is Maru slightly ahead, seriously, slightly ahead on the worker, just by 1 or 2. Ooh, Medevac accidentally flying in, thought it was safe to pass by the natural, not so much.
I was a bit scared for Maru that it was going to be an interference matrix to cancel that speed there, and then the Cyclone kills it, but Cure did not opt for that, maybe thinking that it was not possible. Now, Cure does have a little bit of supply lead. These little victories here, there on the map are nice for Maru. And remember, his tank count's going to be significantly behind here against his opponent. I mean, this game's very different to the last one because Cure is going for the 3rd CC, also going for the engineering bays and such. And any advantage you had in the early game in this matchup, they kind of died down a little bit at this point. Because you're not going to be able to kill your opponent directly. And this is where Maru really wants the game to go, I feel. Even though I say that after just a proxy 2 racks opening, this is where Maru starts to really shine.
That is very true. That's not something you really argue against. But I am a little worried about Maru's defensive potential. He is down a tank. The Cyclones, they lose strength as the game goes on, only in, you know, possibility scenarios, right, that they actually remain effective. And Cure does have a stronger army. He's also building Vikings, not Medevacs, so he will be able to siege up and contain possibly. If he gets a delay on Maru's third CC, I mean, he will jump forward in the economy, which Maru is currently winning. There's the scan, and from both players too. Maru admits, I cannot defend that third CC. Let's back away, play the long game. A couple of Reapers from Maru getting some cheeky SCV kills, but now Cure can siege up the main base as well, possibly.
Yeah, and I mean, all that production is there, isn't it? And I mean, 4 Cyclones out, like, they will be a little bit scary. We'll be able to deny vision a little bit, but Maru's in a similar position that he was in Game 1, where it's like, okay, my opponent has more tanks, he's outside my base right now. Tank count does look fairly similar, but the thing is, those Cyclones melt to siege fire. They absolutely melt. Maru's Marine count still behind as well. I mean, those Reapers definitely did a little bit of damage on the other side of the map, but no air control either. Cure is all over this game.
And he just scanned the medevac pickup, which is, you know, really the only option too. He basically scanned the medevacs. You know that's one of their only options. So he also means that he definitely has the Viking control. He can be kind of brazen with this air army. So he goes in, gets 3 tanks disabled. They are not going to be part of the fight, guys. Maru forced to pull the boys. He's going to try and defend on his last life in the Esports World Cup. Will he be able to break through? He is breaking through. His only disables were so big. The tanks of Cure also not a part of the fight. The rest of his army not strong enough. Just before Cure's 1-1 as well, Maru chooses the right moment to survive, but his economy is in the dumpster.
It's in tatters, absolutely in tatters, and Cure, you can see it on his face there. I mean, Maru's gonna attack you. He has to, and you know it's gonna come. But how do you stop it? I mean, Raven-wise, he's got 1 remaining here. That's so much bio. This tank has a lot of work to do. And Maru, the Raven doesn't do anything, Zombie Grove. He's getting in there. He's got combo shield against no combo shield. Now he's got to pull the SCVs.
Yeah, he's pulling the SCVs. That last tank coming out's not going to even help as Cure realizes he lost too much. That was too successful of a break to survive an almost immediate counterattack. Maru unable to do that similar situation in the first game. He tried to break out. He didn't. He was continually contained. It was difficult. Second game, after some kerfuffle with some of the openers, kind of came down to the same thing. Could Cure demolish him in the contain, or at least have enough units surviving if he was broken? Well, the answer to that was no, and Maru now brings it up to a 1-1 score.
Really impressive out of Maru, honestly, because that was not easy. And the fact that he went for it, the first unsiege on the tank against the interference matrix was big, by the way, because anytime you can keep a tank alive for longer, maybe Cure didn't want to push as hard as he had to at that point in time. It's just all these very split little decisions here, but Maru kind of forced his hand there, took the opportunity, and I'll tell you what, those 4 Cyclones he made earlier, they actually came in pretty handy.
They did, yeah. You know, you always, you got to shout them out when they actually work in the mid-game, you know? Otherwise, they are just seen as anti-drop, maybe some pokes, but yeah, they did help out. Maru looking cool as a cucumber, despite the early game going the way that it did. He did play the rest of it out quite nicely. And Cure, you know, definitely thinking he was in a good position. He had a chokehold on him. He was also aware of the potential break and what could happen from there, but it's all about those tiny little minutia, right, that really makes the difference. And Maru is very good at that type of micro.
He certainly is. He's one of the best strategic minds in StarCraft II, and has been for a long time, like a puppet master. He reads things that almost no one else can, and when it comes to TVT, there's been nobody else as dominant in this matchup ever in StarCraft's history. But now it's all down to this map. Who will make it to the knockout bracket final? Oh, spawning in the bottom left-hand side of Alcyone. One final time in this matchup. It is Team Liquid's Cure.
And in the top right, also on his last chance still, he is the Blue Terran for Vitality, Maru.
What a situation to find yourself in as Maru. Like, he was literally maps away from making it, skipping all of this stress, absolutely avoiding it. It was up till 1 AM yesterday, playing his absolute heart out, only to find himself taken out not only his teammate Solar, but potentially a former teammate here in Cure as well.
Yeah. And it'd be nice revenge for GSL, of course. Not that that actually knocked Maru out at all. It just was one of those, well, can Cure actually start to reverse the trend, right? Can he now start winning against Maru reliably? Well, it looked that way in game number 1, very strong performance, and it even looked that way in game number 2. Maru does the kind of magic Terran breakout, an instant counterattack that would work especially well there. Now we're on Alcyone, one of the larger maps, if not actually the largest, I believe. So we're going to have a bit of a difference there, and certainly already because you don't have a Proxy 2 Rex.
No, definitely. And Maru, like, we have different builds going on here. It's going to be Maru going for a 1 Rax fast expand with a scout. So this is barracks first, so the factory comes online later. Most likely we'll have a very similar build from game 1 out of him. But if there's one thing that Maru's very good about, it's showcasing a build that looks identical, but then doing something a little bit different. And even though TVT, I don't want to call it a linear matchup because there's so many different openings these days, he's been very good about melding it to his will, like doing these builds where he gets a 3rd CC before the starport, being ultra darn greedy, and it's pretty hard to punish, but Cure is so precise with some of these builds and knowing what to do with what build order that it's very hard to get away with it against a guy like Cure.
Maru kind of taking advantage of the situation. You know, last game he Proxy 2 Rax and did basically punish Cure's attempt at a 1cc, even though the beginning didn't look that great. He did end up canceling it. So then the next game, especially on a bigger map as well, Maru's like, well, I'm probably going to get ahead, actually. You're not going to 2-Rax me. You're not much of a 2-Raxer, and you're probably going to be playing safe by factory expanding, so I'm going to get ahead with a 1-Rax expand. You're not going to be able to do anything about it, and so far, so good. But Cure is building multiple Reapers and multiple Hellions.
Yeah, the build that Cure's went for, even though it's a double gas opening, going Reaper into Reactor, while not scouting, it is a little bit greedy, because if there was something like the previous game, well, this can absolutely bite the bullet a little bit, but it's going to be a lot of Reapers out of him. Like, make no mistake about that. I mean, his starport's still on the way, so it's not the 7 Reapers that can cross the map kind of thing. It's probably going to be stopping at 3 and 2 Hellions, but this can still get some damage done. Maru doesn't have the same kind of firepower just yet, but he is quite quick to getting this Cyclone out.
Yeah, so not 5-3, but rather 3-2 on the number of Reaper Hellion. A little less pepper, a little less potential in case they do find something good. They won't really be able to snowball it as much. They shouldn't anyway. And this does look like, yeah, maybe some Reapers could get some SCVs, but one of them already going down, second one very, very injured. I mean, how many SCVs do we really expect here? 3, maybe? 2
max, I think. Although maybe it is going to be 3 at this point. I mean, very close to getting that last one. Ooh, that was super close, eh?
Yeah, that was close. That's kind of your, that's the only thing you're really going to be asking for, honestly, unless you just found them completely out of position and unaware, which should not happen at this level. Both of them are grabbing medevacs, very common, especially in Korean CVT, I think, although we've seen a little less of it. Yeah, medevac versus medevac. Not seeing each other's medevacs as well, very common. Even though the Xel'Naga could be taken, it wouldn't have seen the medevac anyway, so that's all right. And yeah, there you go. Both on either side of the map.
Yeah, like 2 ships sail in the night here, and damage is going to be done on both sides. And Cure's getting a lot of stuff like tech lab-wise, so not producing anything just yet. Maru's quite quick to getting out a tank, and he is greeted by the Hellion and the Cyclone, but having the medevac here, this can be pretty juicy. I mean, trying to get some damage done with the Reaper as well. Those Marines were also very good at dealing with that initial bit of aggression. And Cure's, he's right on in the mineral line. Now, what's greeting him? Absolutely nothing. This is definitely benefiting Cure in this situation.
Absolutely. 3 SCVs already going down. Command center delayed. And that is big when you're playing kind of similar stories here. Tank's gonna get a shot. You're gonna stay? Okay, second shot would have killed everything. Garrett is repositions. He's like, you know what? I'm having a field day. Auto turret is finally gonna dissuade him, and Maru was returning home, but there is a dead spot on Alcyone. You can just leave it there as long as there's no Vikings, which we're not getting into. Both players grabbing barracks and Ravens.
Yeah, 3rd CC very quick from Maru, and on Cure's side of things, he's only just starting his zombie growth. Now, Cure did get a really good scout in this main base, getting to see that 3rd and when it was happening. I'm just wondering if he knows that the 3rd CC is very early. Maybe he could have got away with a low ground one. So I'm just wondering, where does he feel that he's going to get a little bit of a lead this game? Because playing the catch-up when it comes to a CC being that much faster than you, it is a little bit annoying.
More than annoying, it's a little bit scary, but you know, sometimes you do see this, and while it's definitely Maru's economic lead, they both get on 3cc. They both have similar enough upgrade timings, and then it's a lot about those interference matrix, who gets them first, who gets them in a more powerful position. Concaves with Marines, you know the drill. TVT is TVT, right?
Yeah.
It might just be your first real, you know, macro game, no contain on Maru to make it complicated. Maru does get a scan, sees that he is much farther ahead in the 3rd CC. If you could take it immediately, then he, you know, definitely would, but you got to be a little careful about actually planting it on location.
This is very cool from Maru. So he scouts that 3rd with a Marine, goes back, gets control of Xel'Naga, scans the main, he's like, wait a minute, because you have to confirm that you're not getting 2-base pushed at that point, right? So he knows that he's ahead economically. I also love the fact that he's actually got a 2nd barracks with a tech lab here, so he's going to have stim and combat shield ridiculously quickly. Like, that is a lot of gas being used on upgrades, like 400 in total, 400 minerals, which, you know, right now he's kind of like, oh, it's a little bit risky, but knowing that he's ahead on the economy front, Maru's making a lot of really good calls here. That's
a really good point. Oftentimes you'll see both, oh, they're both doing it. Well, you'll see it both added on because you expect that you're behind significantly. So if you're late to stimulate the combat shields, obviously, unless you get both at the same time, and then you can kind of make up the difference. So it's usually a comeback move. In this case, it's like getting even farther ahead, because he's probably also going to bother to actually swap that onto a reactor once it's done. He's not going to get lazy about that. So the temporary loss of, I don't even know, like I don't know, but, you know, the Marines that would have popped up all the time instead of one, it's probably going to be worth having that so much faster. And he also does know, again, that he is in a good position. Kira does still have the army supply lead, but especially as we add on more tanks, you know, 4 army supply lead, like, what does that really matter?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these numbers, you're looking at the production tabs, they're neck and neck. Like, Armory starting, 5th and 6th gas for both of them. A little bit of a supply block here for Cure temporarily. Does manage to fix that up. I mean, this is just, it's going to line up to be a very cool TVT out of both of them. I do feel that Maru's position, and I think he feels it too, that it's quite a nice one for him, but has to be so careful. 1 medevac and 2 cyclones. I mean, you're definitely feeling the nerves through the screen here from both these guys. Cure, so quick to start up his 2-2, by the way, but every tank is interference matrixed, and Cure, he's got energy as well. Stops the tanks, gets the Dorito dust on it, and all the tanks are stopped as well, and now they are just killing each other.
Yeah, I think the Dorito dust was a little bit later there for Maru, right? So Cure actually had a lot of Marines, I believe more than Maru. We didn't get the check on right before that, but he certainly does now. And then so the tanks, although they are disabled and that looks like the most beautiful engagement in the world, it is a matter of actually getting on top of them, taking that out of the equation, and then also making sure you win the non-tankless battle, which did not happen for Maru. Cure the reaction very quickly, also realizing he took a hell of a fight, killing all those tanks. Cure on the counterattack, on the warpath. He has an almost 30 army supply lead. Can Maru pull out this defense?
I mean, if there's one thing that actually bodes well for Maru, it's he took out all 3 of the Ravens, but CC on the front here does not get cancelled, gets killed. I mean, those tanks in the back line, they have a job to do. An anti-armor missile goes down. SCVs will pull temporarily, and for now, Maru can breathe a tiny little bit, but Cure, he's smelling blood in the water here, Zombie Grub. These tanks are getting so damn close, and Maru, after such a fiery day yesterday, this might be it for him.
I think it might be. Cure knows that he's got to go ahead and end it right here. You let Maru get back on 3cc, you let him turtle up, and there's a strong chance he makes the comeback happen. Cure is the one most familiar with that as well. So he's going to continue getting ahead back at home with a faster 4th command center. I believe his armory was faster, so his upgrades might be as well. And he is continuing to delay that 3rd. Yes, he has maybe 15, maybe 10 seconds. Doesn't sound like a lot, but since he is the one pressuring, it could happen that he has the upgrade lead. It looks like he's not ready to go ahead and break him, but Cure, realizing that Maru's going to try and go this direction, is actually going to send his main army off to the left side, and then triple medevac drop into the main. Maru, on a not incredible tank count, can only defend so many locations at once.
Definitely, those drops that are heading to the main right now could spell disaster. I know I saw 1 turret over there. Cure being very precarious over here, but this is almost a distraction at this point, because here is where the real damage is getting done. That CC is stopped for now. 2-2 finishing up very shortly for Maru. Maru's trying to do everything he can right now to soften the blow. 2-2 has finished. The units from Maru can fight against this, and Cure's dealing a lot of economic damage behind this while taking a fourth on location.
Exactly. Just killed 15 SCVs. Now, Maru does still have 4 command centers at this point, and wow, a very bold move with this 4th command center. Did it just lift? It's going to try and go over? No way, right? Okay, yeah. No way. 15 SCVs, and he can replace that, but that's, 50 minerals a pop when you also desperately need to be building Marines to cover your tanks. Obviously, priority on the tank production. That's going to cover. The splash is going to cover a certain amount of army supply, and then a couple of Vikings to make sure that this runaround game won't happen, and that if Cure is going to add on some Liberators, it won't shock Maru. But that missile turret died. There's no more vision in the main base there over on Maru's main, and Cure is just going to continue hammering that point.
This is so risky by Cure, but if he can get in there, this is a doom drop and a half over here. There's going to be 4 tanks, I think, in the mix with all those, and oh my goodness, he's getting in such a good position here with all these tanks as well. Oh, Maru, this is not good. Even getting a tank picked off in the main as well. Maru bringing everything he has to try and deal with this, but Cure's just growing ever bigger behind it all as well.
Yeah, Maru is trying to take this as patiently as possible. You just kind of have to accept this is happening. Lifts the command center, gets the concave here, and that's going to be an okay fight, but definitely not good enough. No, it's not even an okay fight. That is not good enough. Maru supply in the dumpster, and he taps out. Maru is out of the Esports World Cup, and Cure gets another chance to fight on.
Oh, well played out of Cure. You could really feel that a few of these moves out of Maru were not the Maru that I'm used to seeing, where it's just absolutely flawless. But Cure, you could tell every move in all of these TVTs, it was